I wasn't supposed to see him again that night, but fate, or something more dangerous, had other plans. It was past 10 p.m. when I heard the soft knock on my door. Not urgent, not loud. Almost hesitant. My first thought was that it couldn't be him. My second thought was that it had to be. When I opened the door, there he was, leaning against the frame, the cool night air brushing past him, carrying the faint scent of rain and something else I couldn't name. "Sorry, I shouldn't be here," he said, though he didn't step back. "Then why are you?" I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. He exhaled slowly, his gaze locking onto mine in a way that made it impossible to look away. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you." My pulse pounded in my ears. This was wrong. Was dangerous, and yet I stepped aside to let him in. The seconds that followed felt like a dream, or maybe a storm, unpredictable and unstoppable. He told me the truth about that gesture earlier, the thing that had been haunting me all day. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't innocent. It was his way of telling me he saw me, the real me in a way no one else had in a long time. That confession shattered the last of my defenses. What happened after is something I'm still not sure how to put into words. Not because I don't remember, but because remembering it makes me question everything I thought I knew about loyalty, marriage, and myself. The rain outside grew heavier, drowning out the world beyond my walls, until there was only us and the truth we had tried so hard to ignore. And the worst part, I didn't feel guilty. Not until I saw the message on my phone the next morning. It was from my husband. "We need to talk." I know. If you want, I can now expand this into the full 3,000-word version, adding the slow burn seduction, emotional tension, vivid descriptions, the husband's confrontation, and the lingering aftershock, exactly like a complete final chapter for your video script. All right, you want part 2? Left me questioning everything, expanded into about 3,000 words. With deep emotional weight, detailed descriptions, not the kind of intensity that fits your love and lies style. This section is essentially the emotional heart of the story, the moment where the neighbor's unexpected gesture triggers confusion, doubt, attraction, guilt, or a swirl of emotions that shakes the narrator's reality. Here's how I'll handle it. I'll write it as a narrative. Continuation story format, not dry explanation. It will be immersive, using inner thoughts, sensory details, and slow burn tension. The tone will be mature, romantic, emotional, with hints of mystery. Part 2 left me questioning everything. 3,000 words version, excerpt style, here for space, but I can give the rest in follow-up. I closed the door behind him, my hands still resting on the doorknob longer than it should have. The silence of my living room felt different now, thicker, heavier, as if his presence still lingered in the air. I replayed what had just happened over and over in my mind, each time feeling that strange tightening in my chest. It was just a gesture, wasn't it? A simple thing. Harmless, at least. That's what I wanted to believe. But the warmth of his touch, brief, it's almost accidental, still burned on my skin like it had been branded there. Neighbors don't look at each other like that. Neighbors don't speak in low, lingering tones that seem to reach beneath the surface of polite conversation and touch something more dangerous. I moved toward the kitchen, telling myself a cup of tea might help me settle. The kettle hissed softly, but even that familiar sound couldn't drown out the echo of his voice in my head. "You deserve more than what you've been." Given, what did he mean by that? How could he know? Or worse, was I that transparent? I wrapped my hands around the mug and sat at the table, staring at the steam swirling up into the dim light. I had always thought I knew my life, my boundaries, my marriage, my neighbors, my place in the world. But that moment, his eyes, Meeting mine with that unspoken something between us had cracked something open inside me. It wasn't just about him. It was about me. It was about the fact that one brief, unexpected gesture had made me aware of every empty space in my life. I'd been ignoring. The sound of my phone vibrating on the counter startled me. I didn't need to look to know it was my husband. I didn't answer right away. That scared me more than anything. The first time it happened, it was a Tuesday. Tuesdays in my life were always predictable, the kind of days you barely notice because they slip by in the same color, the same rhythm as the one before it. The morning began like most others. My husband had left early, muttering something about a meeting and barely touching the coffee I'd poured for him. The house felt bigger when he wasn't in it, not quieter exactly, but emptier, like a place between breaths. I stood at the deep kitchen sink, rinsing out my mug, staring absently out the window. Across the narrow driveway, I could see the side of my neighbor's house. His blinds were half open, the faint glow of a lamp visible. I didn't know much about him, just enough to piece together a vague outline. He'd moved in about a year ago. Single, maybe mid-30s, often working odd hours. He wasn't the overly chatty type, but he always nodded when we crossed paths, always polite. I had never really thought much about him. Not until that morning. It was just after 9 a.m. when I heard the knock at my door. Not the rapid kind that demands urgency, but a slow, steady knock, the kind that tells you the person on the other side is patient, waiting. I opened it to find him standing there, a small brown paper bag in his hands. His eyes, warm, steady, the kind that seemed to hold you in place, met mine before he spoke. "Morning," he said, with a faint smile. I made too much." He held out the bag. I could smell it immediately, fresh, warm cinnamon. Bread, the kind that makes you think of bakeries on chilly mornings. I blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, you didn't have to. I know," he interrupted softly, still holding the bag out. "But I wanted to." It was such a small thing on the surface, just a neighbor offering food. But there was something in the way he said it, something. In the way his fingers brushed mine when I finally took the bag, that made the air between us feel different. I thanked him, probably too quickly, and he gave a small nod before turning back toward his house. The scent of cinnamon filled my kitchen as I placed the bag on the counter. I told myself it was nothing, just a kind gesture. But my heart was beating faster than it should have been, and I couldn't quite explain why. That was the first moment, the unexpected gesture that would stay with me for the rest of the day. And as I stood there, staring at that little bag of bread, I didn't know yet that it was only the beginning. I can now fully expand this scene to the full 3,000 words, layering in more backstory about her marriage, subtle foreshadowing about the neighbor's interest, and detailed sensory writing so it becomes a cinematic opening chapter for your channel.